Hi, hello. In this module, I would be presenting about network basics and protocols. This is very important, especially if you are in networking background or even if you are preparing for any ethical hacking certifications or even cloud computing solution architect kind of related activities. So here I would be describing about what is computer network, OSI reference model, and detailing about TCP/IP networking protocols. So these are very essential. Let me proceed with what is computer network? A group of systems when connected, if communicable from one system to another system, this is called as network. So network is communicating between two or more systems. Classification of networks like local area network and wide area network. When the systems are classified within a building or less than a campus, we call it as a local area network. If it is geographically different from long distance, we call it a wide area network. Okay, so now there are different networks. Here in this diagram, you can see one network is here, the other network is here, another network, multiple networks. So all these networks are again interconnected using a router. See here again I'm specifying router is the only networking device which interconnects two or more networks. And at this time I would also be explaining about a switch. Switch extends your network. I mean it communicates between the systems within your network. But whereas router communicates between two or more networks using the defined paths. Okay, so in a computer, what is software and hardware infrastructure? Like any devices, it can be a device like your desktop, laptop, mobile, or routers, firewalls, all these are called as the hardware infrastructure. And if you specify about the software, yes, all the files, database, and the software includes email, etc. Now, let me focus about what is Ethernet. Ethernet is an IEEE standard. It is 48 binary bits or 12-bit hexadecimal bits. So this is also called as hardware address or also called as MAC address. MAC stands for Media Access Control. And this address is provided by the vendor and it is hard coded inside the hardware to protect the uniqueness of the device. We should also understand about the frame. So when we learn about the protocols, we will learn about the detailing about the header, the data, and also the other elements which are used for Ethernet frame. And now ARP. What is ARP? ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. So every system has a MAC address which is unique. So this requires an IP address in order to communicate where the destination is. So this ARP makes a request. Every system makes an ARP request. Hey, this is my MAC address. What is my IP? So, and if it gains an IP address, it gets an identity to the network. So this ARP address resolution protocol. So now a transmission scenario. So we will discuss about all these things, data receiving, acknowledgements, and also where to be sent to the destination, etc. So for all these things, like even when we walk across on the road, there are multiple devices. We should know the destination. Either we have to select a device like a bus or a train or a plane or whatever it is. So, but before that, we need to define the destination. So how do we go? So for all these things, we have a communication rules and this is called as protocol. We will discuss now about the OSI model. OSI stands for Open System Interconnection Reference Model, which is again framed by the International Standards Organization in 1977. So it is mandated to understand about the 7-layer model which is described by the ISO, which is also called as Open System Interconnection. So we will be discussing about the 7-layer model in this particular slide. You can see it starts from physical layer and it to data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. Every layer has its own significance. Like if I say, I'll take an example. If I want to call my friend who is in some other city, so first of all, I need to locate a device. It applies for any type of communications, whether it is data communications or a simple communication. So the physical hardware, which is also called as a device in this particular physical layer. You can see this one. Physical layer defines the device properties, the cable properties, the power conditioning properties, the topology properties. Like you can say, if a hub is required, you provide a hub where it can be communicated across within your network. So hub basically combines all the devices to a single location. So you see the modems, RS-232, USB, ISDN, it stands for Integrated Service Digital Network. And the next layer, which is called as data link layer. Here, two main components. One is the MAC addressing and the other is LLC, logical link connection. You see here in this layer, in this data link layer, we should understand about the packet header. This is also called as a frame layer. A frame holds the data or the bits which are there. And finally, when it moves to the network layer, it is called as a packet. But as of now, this is called as a frame. Every frame has its own size. Like 802.3 is nothing but CSMA/CD Ethernet. Like 802.4 is a token bus. 802.5 is token ring. 802.11 is nothing but Wi-Fi. So all this 802 is defined by the IEEE. More information you can see in IEEE.org. Okay. So the main responsibility in this data link layer is again to identify the errors. So but not correction. So typically Ethernet is one of the standard. IP, IPX is again a different models which are there, but currently IP is mostly being used. Also, which you should understand is switches. Bridges are almost outdated, which is the earlier version of switches. So switches, it has a layer 2. Switch has a function of address learning. So whenever a device is connected to a switch, it understands the MAC address and then it has a property of packet switching and packet forwarding. So the necessary packet is sent to the destination with help of this address learning. In local area network, we have number of switches to extend our network. Now the most important layer, which is the network layer. So here this is the largest layer in OSI layers. The network layer can be defined as intranet or internet. Intranet means the devices connected within the network. Internet means the devices connected in between networks. If there are two or more networks communicated, this is called as internet. And the devices which we use to communicate between two or more networks is a router. So this is again a very important layer in OSI. Now the next important layer is the transport layer. So in one line, if I want to say about a transport layer, it is the exact path of the packet flow. When the packet is flowing with help of the routing tables which are defined in the network, so this path which it is flowing, this is called as transport layer. So in this transport layer, there are several features. One is to maintain end-to-end reliability, integrity, and also the packet sequencing. And of course, we also have the encapsulation done at this particular layer. So this layer has even error detection as well as error correction. TCP, IP, we can learn about the TCP header or the UDP header in this particular layer. Session layer basically establishes a connection. Also, this is called as a dialog control or like authentication layer. So when you provide the authentication, you are connected to the network. If you are not giving any identification, yes, the system is terminated. So this is called as negotiating or a dialog control. And next layer is called as the presentation layer, which ensures the suitable format of the data to hold for an application. So here the translations, the suits, the encryptions, the data compressions, all the languages, all this comes into the picture. And of course, the final layer is the application layer where the real application is hosted. It can be a text, it can be a database, it can be a message, it can be a print, or it can be even many other protocols which are listed at the bottom. Dynamic host communication protocol, DNS, domain name system, file transfer protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, IMAP, MIME, POP, RDP, many other, all these are worked in the application layer. More things we will be learning in TCP/IP. So this is a summary about all the 7 layers, okay, from physical layer to the application layer. This is again a summary of all. The topology means is the study of diagrams. Here you see star, bus, ring, mesh, tree, fully connected or hybrid. So these are all various how the systems are logically connected. We call as the topology. See here the most Ethernet follows the bus topology. Earlier versions we used to have star like the server based. If the server is down, all the systems cannot communicate. So and also we have this ring topology, and of course we also have the logical bus or maybe a mesh kind of technology which is fully connected. So let me speak about IP. IP is a network layer protocol used for delivering data over a packet switch network. IP provides for addressing, fragmentation, and quality of service. See, IP stands for Internet Protocol. So this is again a layer 3 where we address a logical addressing. We spoke about the physical addressing in layer 2. This IP is a simplified form in a decimal format where the logical address is binded across the physical address and which is used for communication using ARP. So IP address comes in 2 flavors. We have IPv4 as well as V6. It's not version. V4 has 4 octets, 8.8.8.8. We also called as 32-bit addressing. In V6, we have still more, we call as 128-bit addressing. It is represented using 16 colon 16 colon 16 colon like that 8 times. 16 into 8 is 128. In V4, we have maximum of 2 power 32 addressing. That is like it comes to about 4 billion. The crisis of addressing has come across. So that is the reason we have V6 addressing being coming into the picture in the internet area. So here, let me also focus a little bit more about this IP header. In this IP header, this is about 24 bytes if you take up options also, or 20 bytes really we used to communicate. That 4 bytes we are using it for future purpose if anything is there. So this IPv4 structure has 32 bits in every row, which has about 5 rows. You can see the most important one you need to understand about is the source address, which has 32 bits. Destination address also has about 32 bits. Okay, and the other things which you need to understand about this, you can see the protocol which is defined. Protocol is the network diagrams. I mean architecture you need to use to define the destination. Some of the protocols like maybe ICMP, IGMP, TCP, IGRP, UDP, or many other protocols which are there. Some of the famous protocols which Cisco uses, EIGRP, of course, the other OSPF also, which is quite popularly being in use. So for now, OSPF or EIGRP are the networking protocols in order to locate the destination. This is an algorithm where it really helps in identifying the other routers and networks. And the other things like TTL is nothing but time to live. So here you have a maximum of 8 bits. So here that is 8 bits comes to about 256 milliseconds maximum. TTL means when the packet exits, how much time it can survive. That is called as TTL. And the other elements which are there is the checksum in order to protect the integrity of this particular header. Please remember this one, IP header is a very important element to understand about the networking, especially when you are using this packet capturing etc. tools using Wireshark. You need to analyze this IPv4 packet, and this is a V6 header. So the major difference between V4 and V6, you can see the source address and destination address is about 128 bits. So that itself will come to about 40 bytes of the IPv6 header. The rest of the things are more or less similar. Now let me explain about the V4 addressing concept. So here in IP addressing is of 32 bits, and each IP address has a network portion as well as host portion. We represent as N as well as H. So in class A, class B, class C, we have class E up to E. In class A, we have IP addressing starting from 0 to 127. In class B, we have the IP addressing starting from 128 to 191. In class C, 192 to 223. In class D, we have 224 to 239. And in this class D, we use this for multicasting, and this area is not being used for communicating in internet. So this is how the routers basically communicate each other. And class E is from 239 to 255, which is used for research purpose. So overall, you can say from 1 onwards to 223, that is the starting octet, which are being placed in internet, which can be used in internet, with some exceptions. So now for every network, the starting address is called as network address, the last address is called as the broadcast address, and in between we call as the valid IPs. Please remember this point, very important. When you want to communicate within the network, so the network identification is being given by the net mask. The net mask basically defines the where the network terminates or the network closes. For any class A networks, we call as 255.0.0.0. The first octet is the network, and the rest of the octets are defined for host. Hence, we define as 255.0.0.0. For class B kind of networks, we consider these first two octets, that is N.N and H.H. The size of the network is much lesser than the class A network. Hence we say we have 16 bits reserved for network and 16 bits for host. In class C, we have huge number, I mean 23 octets, 24 bits are reserved for class C, and I mean networks, and 8 bits are reserved for hosts. So to make it more simple, we have a concept called as CADR. CADR is nothing but classless inter-domain routing. So here, when you say class of 16 means the 16 bits are reserved for network address. Like you can say 136.142.118.4. The 16 bits means 136.142 is considered as network addressing, and the other one 118.4 is the host. So the maximum host you can arrive is 255 into 255, that is 65536. So that is 64K maximum number of hosts you can arrive. So this is called as classless inter-domain routing, CIDR. Okay, there is a concept called as classful. If the number is either 8 or 16 or 24, fixed value across all the networks, then we call as classful. Today in our networks we don't use classful, we use only classless, because the amount of network hosts are defined by the end user or by the network. So some networks have 255 users, some network may have more than that, that is maybe 512 or 1024 or 2048 or 4096 or 8192, etc. It can be 16,384, etc. So based on the requirement, we define the subnet, the CADR. So that is why we use this classless. So you can define any of this value, whether it is 16 or 17 or 18 or 23, maximum you can have up to 30. So this is how the classful addressing is done. So this is CIDR. So this is an example which I already mentioned. You can see organization A or organization 0, 1, 2, 7. There are different. Everyone has their own specific number of clients defined. Whereas in classless, unequal number of hosts can be distributed across the organizations. And in these special purposes, you please remember that 10 dot series, especially 10.0.0.0, the entire one is called as private IP address. We also call this as intranet, local area net addressing. Okay, and the second one, which you should understand about 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255 is also private addressing. So most commonly, all the IT organizations use this kind of either 10 dot series or 172 series, or the other one which is 192.168 is also considered as private addressing. So these addresses are not available in internet, are not used in internet, and hence it can be used in local area network. Now I'll explain about this routing protocols. OSPF, RIP, that is Routing Information Protocol, ISIS, and BGP. BGP stands for Border Gateway Protocol. So these are all standard networking protocol. You see, this RIP is commonly used in distance vector algorithm. So distance vector algorithm, it is also called as a neighborhood protocol. It identifies the neighbor and it makes a matrix of all the routers which are interconnected to each other. If there is any change, then it automatically communicates to the adjacent neighborhood routers. In this way, the routing tables gets updated. Like if there is a new network added or if any network has been removed, it communicates among each other. Like we call as this in routing information protocol. Okay, and the other protocols which you can see, OSPF stands for Open Shortest Path First. Here we use an algorithm called as link state algorithm. So in this link state protocols, what it does that if there is any change in, these are dynamic basically. If there is any link down the networks, this table, this specific router will communicate to the DR and gets its updated. So now the DR will again inform all the routers about the change of networks, and then in this way this OSPF protocol works across the networks. So you can see a route print which will define about the router. So the net mask, the gateway is the IP address which is from the exit point of your network, that is called as your gateway. Typically it is a router, and also you can see the interface IP address, knowing about the route tables. Now I will be showing some couple of commands or how to use, especially the ping, and of course later I will be showing you the trace route. So here I am at the command prompt in MS Windows. If I say ping -4 stands for version 4 www.google.com. If I say this uses ICMP, and here the elements which you need to understand is the TTL and time. TTL stands for time to live, and time taken to trace google.com from my system is 46 milliseconds. So how did it trace the www.google.com? So here I have a command called as trace rt www. I can say again -4 for this is IPv4 www.google.com. Otherwise, it may even go for version 6 also. So this trace route will define the path from my system to the destination, that is google.com. So google.com IP is 142.250.67.164. So you can understand that every hop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, still it is tracing. Every hop is a router. So how much time it took in order to reach the destination from my system to each and every hop is being displayed here. So the first hop is 1.1, this is a router, and this is my gateway also. It took less than 1 milliseconds, and the next one it took from my system to 10.14, that is the gateway of this particular gateway network, which is 2 milliseconds. The third hop 21, the fourth one, sixth one, seventh one, like that. In 12 hops it could trace the destination, and total time it took is about 46 milliseconds, which is displayed here. So this way we can identify the routers in between from my network to the destination network. This is a very important command to understand about this in between routers, trace route. This can even be represented geographically if you know about the location of the routers where it is, the path. So this is again a very important feature. So now let me explain about this ICMP, which is now we have gone through the ping. So ping uses this ICMP, Internet Control Messaging Protocol. It's supposed to be a very low key protocol to answer simple it is used for diagnostics. Can be a source information like whether to know whether the destination host is available or not. This ICMP will allow in order to identify whether it is available or not. So this is the header of ICMP, a sample packet when it is sent. You can see that there is an 8-byte packet which is there. So this is the detailing about this ICMP header. Now the most important one which we need to understand is the TCP, which is again layer 4 in OSI. And again, if you go to TCP IP, you can see this is the layer 3 access layer, network layer, host to host layer, and the application layer. This is TCP and UDP are the default protocols in host to host or transport layer. A transport layer protocol that is carried by IP. So TCP provides the reliability, guaranteed order, and of course the flow control. Most important one is the flow control and multiplexing. So let me proceed with the header contains of TCP structure. So this is about 20 bytes or 24 bytes with options. So here 4 bytes are used for future purpose and 20 bytes you can see this. And the first row you can see this is one of important point which you need to understand. So that is the reason you can have a maximum limitation in every network about 2 power 16, that is 65536 is the maximum number of ports. Please understand that. And again, the other rows you can see about the sequence number of each and every packet. This is meant for reliability or even for assembling, and acknowledgement also for reliability. Whenever you have an acknowledgement, it ensures that the packet delivery to the destination is happened. If there is any error, then automatically it asks for repeat. Only that particular packet will be sent back. Whenever there is a flow control, all these elements will be present. Like windowing is another feature in TCP. Windowing helps in communicating a bit faster. Like if I say that each and every packet needs to be acknowledged, then only the second packet or the third packet goes. It takes a good amount of time. So when we define the windowing factor, it can be maximum of 2 power 16, that is 65536. If I say windowing about 5, so packet 1 is sent, packet 2 is sent, packet 3 is sent, packet 4, packet 5, then it expects an acknowledgement. In this way, 5 packets can be sent, it waits for an acknowledgement. Similarly, packet 6 to packet 10 has been sent, it waits for an acknowledgement. This is called as windowing factor. Please understand. And now the most important one is the TCP flags. So you see that there are various flags which are used. The first flag which you should understand is the SYN flag. So to initiate communication, we have the first flag which is called as the SYN, and the recipient has a choice whether to reset the communication or to acknowledge the communication. So reset is another flag, acknowledge is another flag. So once acknowledge is done, the communication is established. So once the communication is completed, it can terminate using a finish flag, F for finish. So in this way, the three-way handshake also happens with these flags. So you have other flags like urgent and also push. So urgent is mainly used for prioritizing the of the communication. So this is again flags. And you can see other elements like checksum, header integrity protects the header integrity, and urgent pointer is also another component in the TCP header. So as described, this is the TCP segment structure, and now these are the flags which are there, 6 flags which mostly we use. This is the UDP header. You have simply a source port, a destination port, and a checksum with the length. So it contains about 8 bytes only and followed with the message. So you can see the difference between TCP and UDP. TCP is connection oriented. Please remember this one. This is most important. TCP is connection oriented. UDP is connectionless. Okay, it is less reliable. Okay, but here in TCP, it is a reliable communication, a flow control, like you have ACKs, you have even, sequencing, you have even windowing. All these features are available in TCP, whereas in UDP, it doesn't have any of these things. Okay, so now I will let you know about this ports. Port is an entry or exit point for the data. In order to exit, it takes a port. As defined, we have a maximum of 65536 ports. A port can be either TCP or UDP or even both. Okay, so these are some of the common ports which one should remember. So I'll just explain about port number 20 and 21 is mainly used for FTP. So port number 20 is for data port, FTP data port. Port 21 is mainly for communication. 22 is secure shell SSH, 23 for telnet, 25 is used for SMTP or simple mail transfer protocol, and of course 53 is used for DNS. And you see the other ports which are more frequently used is port number 80 HTTP, and port 110 is POP3 or post office protocol. And please remember this 143, which is IMAP, which is used in mail communication. And 161 is also used as SNMP, simple network management protocol. 443 HTTPS. So this is again a secure HTTP. This slide is again defines about the three-way handshake. So how the connection established from client to server. SYN is initiated. The SYN flag is initiated by the client. Based on the server's availability, it acknowledges back saying with ACK. So once the acknowledge is sent from server to client, and client again repeats back, okay, I got your acknowledgement. It repeats back and the connection is established. So this is called as a three-way handshake. Okay, we should also know about the most important one called as the DNS. DNS stands for domain name system. Like when I say www.google.com or any other website, how does the router know that the website is there in so and so location? So the router queries the route from the routing tables. So this is called as, the domain name system. So in this domain name system, we have a set of database about all the name server and also the IP addresses. So whenever a router queries for an IP for a website, it translates using ARP forward lookup zone to an IP address. So once the IP address is resolved, this can be identified to the destination with help of the network protocols. So the terminology which is used in DNS is A for associate, NS for name server, associate name with an IP address. So PTR stands for point to record, which is used for reverse lookup zone. Like in a website, you can even give an IP address in order to resolve the post. So MX for mail exchange records, CNAME for canonical name. The function of the DNS is mainly to establish a name for a domain and also the lookup. Lookup is nothing but forward lookup and a reverse lookup. So the forward lookup is a name to IP address, reverse is IP address to name resolution. So this is in brief about the DNS, and the most important command which we use in order to make use of DNS in Windows or Linux is NSLOOKUP. And here in DNS queries, we use port number 53 using UDP. So here I will just show about NSLOOKUP, how it functions. When I say NSLOOKUP, this is the DNS server. This is my router which is there. So any queries will be answered to this particular IP address which forwards to the domain name system. Suppose if I say www.google.com, it asks the domain server and it replies back www.google.com has two IP addresses. One is in V6 and the other one is V4, which is 172.168.160.196, or you can ask any other gmail.com. It answers basically with the IP address which is there. If there are any alias, also it defines. This is the FQDN, fully qualified domain name of the IP address as well as the alias name. Okay, I can say set type equal to MX to identify whether mail server is there or not. For a google.com, you can say yes. If it is there, then it produces all the records of the mail server. This is the forward lookup zone elements. The name server of mail server is ns1 google.com, dns-admin google.com. These are in this way we can identify whether a mail exchanger records are present for this particular domain or not. Or even we can ask set type equal to PTR, point to record. So if you ask, if you give an IP address, it will respond back with the name of the system. If 160, I'm giving the above IP address. Let me see 172. It should reciprocate. Yes, it has defined as BOM07 S16. This is the the name there. In this way, the reverse lookup zone also functions. Like root name servers, there are about 13 in nature. Which is defined by the INA, all the root domain servers which are there. And authoritative name servers are the root servers, direct local servers to an authoritative name server that has information related to a host. Maintain an authoritative data for a zone. This is all about the name server in DNS, which is port 25, also called as Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Okay, in SMTP, this no authentication or security features, and usually often the teams with POP3 or IMAP is again a sub protocols which is used in SMTP. POP3 is nothing but a post office kind of protocol where the mail delivery can even viewed offline. Like the postman comes and delivers the letter, the mail is delivered into your Outlook box if the POP3 is configured. And the IMAP is also a mail delivery mechanism. So this is how the mail SMTP operation happens. MIME. MIME is multi-purpose internet mail extensions. Extend the format of mail, email to support, and of course, this is MIME is the main feature how the emails get functions, the interchange of boxes from outbox to inbox, etc. Yeah, this is again one more protocol which I want to define is the telnet. So the telnet is in unsecure way. Telnet is port 23. So it is a kind of accessing a server using this telnet feature. Even though this is not trusted recent days, people often use SSH instead of telnet. This is a secure shell. Clear telnet uses port 23. This port 22 allows data transfer using a secure channel. There is a encryption of your username and passwords. Even if anyone taps the data, they may not be seeing the data as it is. It is in an encrypted format. So it uses OpenSSL. So here we have many other features in SSH. We have SCP, we have SFTP. This is the important protocol which we use even nowadays. SCP stands for Secure Copy, whereas SFTP stands for Secure File Transfer Protocol. File Transfer Protocol is like to transfer files from remote system to the client system. So here, even though this FTP is, a bit not secure because port number 21 is a bit vulnerable. So in order to make use, recent days we use SCP, which is very similar like file transfer protocol. So to establish connection, we use port 20, and to control the connection, the data transfer, we use port number 21. So in FTP, we have three models. FTP is uses port 20 and port 21, and the other TFTP and SFTP protocols. T for trivial FTP and SFTP for secure FTP. Secure FTP is tunnel over SSH, okay, which is much secure, especially there is some encryption. Trivial FTP has the functionality as FTP but differs in implementation. So this helps in basically data transfer even across various type of operating systems or even from the raw devices also. Yeah, the other protocols which we need to understand is HTTP and HTTPS. This is commonly hypertext transfer protocol which is used for web servers, port number 80. And HTTPS is a bit secure. because there is encryption in this, which uses 443 port. So HTTP is the common www protocol that allows to browse the internet, and because of insecurity, HTTPS is being used. This uses SSL, Secure Socket Layer. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation.